I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where the streets don't really change, where people know your family before they know you, and where life feels mostly planned out long before you understand what planning even means. As a kid, I didn't stand out. I wasn't the loudest, I wasn't the toughest, I wasn't the smartest in the room. But I paid attention. I watched how adults carried themselves. Who showed up early, who followed through, who said one thing and did another. Even then, I could tell the difference between confidence and noise. Some people demanded attention, others earned respect. I didn't know why that mattered to me yet, only that it did. Growing up, life had structure: school, sports, chores, family. Nothing dramatic, nothing extreme. But there was always this quiet feeling that life was asking something of me, and I didn't know how to answer yet. As I got older, that feeling didn't fade. It sharpened. Middle school came with expectations. High school came with pressure. Everyone started asking the same questions. What are you going to do? What's your plan? Where do you see yourself? I tried to picture it: college, career, routine. None of it felt wrong, but none of it felt complete either. I didn't want to be important. I didn't want recognition. I wanted to be useful, to be the kind of person others could depend on without needing reminders. At the time, I was working at McDonald's. Early shifts, late nights, heat, noise, repetition. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. You showed up when scheduled. You did the job whether you felt like it or not. You learned quickly that effort mattered more than excuses. That job taught me something important. Responsibility doesn't wait until life is figured out. It starts wherever you are. Showing up on time, doing things the right way, owning mistakes instead of explaining them away. Discipline wasn't loud, it was quiet, repetitive, sometimes uncomfortable, but it worked. Still, something felt unfinished. I wasn't lost, I just wasn't found yet. Between shifts, during quiet moments, I started paying closer attention, not just to opportunities, but to standards. How people stood, how they spoke, how they reacted under pressure. And when I looked seriously at different paths forward, one thing became clear. All service mattered, all paths had value, but not all standards were the same. Some organizations emphasized opportunity. One emphasized expectation. The Marines didn't advertise comfort. They didn't soften their message. They stood sharper, moved with purpose, carried themselves like readiness wasn't situational, it was permanent. Their uniforms weren't just clean, they were exact. Their posture wasn't rehearsed, it was expected. And the more I noticed it, the more uncomfortable I became. Not because it intimidated me, but because it confronted me. It forced an honest question I couldn't avoid anymore. Was I willing to live up to a standard that didn't bend, even when no one was watching? Eventually, I stopped thinking about it and acted. I walked into a recruiter's office, not with answers, with questions. The room wasn't impressive. No speeches, no pressure, just a desk, 2 chairs, and honesty. He didn't ask me what I wanted to get. He asked me who I was, what motivated me, what I struggled with, what I did when things got hard. We didn't talk about uniforms right away. We talked about responsibility, discipline, accountability. He didn't promise comfort. He explained standards. He didn't try to convince me I belonged. He made it clear I would have to earn it every single day. When I walked out of that office, nothing had been signed, but something had shifted. Because the question wasn't, can I do this? It was, am I willing to be held to this standard even when it's uncomfortable? Not long after that conversation, the decision stopped being theoretical. My recruiter picked me up early one morning. We were driving to MEPS, pronounced MEPS, several hours each way, same day. The drive was quiet at first, highway lines passing, thoughts getting heavier. MEPS wasn't dramatic, it was waiting, medical checks, paperwork, questions that required honest answers. This wasn't about toughness, it was about accountability, answering honestly, following instructions exactly, owning who you were before you ever tried to become something more. By the time we drove home that night, the exhaustion wasn't just physical, it was clarity. This wasn't curiosity anymore, this was commitment. Then the call came. Everything was cleared. I had a ship date, a real one, a day on the calendar that didn't move. Suddenly, time felt different. Conversations felt heavier. Days felt shorter. That was the moment it became real. Because once a date exists, there's no pretending anymore. No maybe, no someday. Just a decision waiting to be honored or abandoned. I hadn't put on a uniform yet. I hadn't stepped onto footprints. But there was no turning back. Because once you commit to a standard like that, once you give it a date, you're no longer deciding if you'll go. You're deciding who you'll be when you do.